There's people like Alex Hermosi and Ty Lopez, who are some of the biggest influencers in the space these days. And they're talking about how building a personal brand is going to help you increase your wealth. Even Ty Lopez is talking about how the personal brand era that we've entered and will continue to enter is going to be the third wave of wealth. And so on this video, I want to discuss exactly how to be successful with building your personal brand, how to separate yourself from other people, and do it in a way that feels do it in a way that feels authentic and feels aligned and feels like you're being true to yourself. What's up, guys? My name is Nico Rapkless. Really excited to share this information as I've been building a brand. I've been building a brand for 10 plus years, and I've actually built out my brand in different ways for over 10 years and in different contexts and platforms, and I've gotten to learn and understand about myself. And I want to share on this video something that I learned recently that actually allowed me to start pulling in more people, gravitating more people, specifically on YouTube, and being able to attract and gravitate new subscribers. And I'm always doing it from the woo and the do standpoint, right? And there's a really powerful realization that I found on one of my YouTube videos that's backed up by a bunch of data that tells me there's one key component that's going to help you gravitate more people to your personal brand so you can have more influence, so that you can build that more wealth like Ty Lopez talks about, and then your ads will convert better and it'll just be the ultimate lever for you. Okay, so that's what I want to discuss on this video. If you guys do want to learn more about this type of stuff and learn how you can continue to become the best version of yourself and build your brand, make sure and hit the subscribe button. We're on a mission to helping over 20,000 people become the best versions of themselves on this YouTube channel, and especially inside of our free Skool community. So links are down below. Without further ado, let's jump into this. So one of the first things that I wanted to share, as I was mentioning about how there's a specific stat that I figured out on YouTube. And so to bring this full context to help you understand exactly where I'm coming from. So one of the things that I'll just share right away is that specifically on online platforms, and I'll get into why building your brand isn't necessarily just online, it's offline as well, and I'll share my take on that. But in terms of online, I want to share this. Basically, you'll start putting out content, and you'll start putting out different pieces of content, and you'll notice that certain things gravitate different people, and some pieces of content gravitate even more people. And so specifically, there's a piece of content that I make a lot on this YouTube channel, and it's anything that has to do with Joe Dispenza, because I've really been inspired and invigorated, and his stuff has helped me so much, and I just love sharing it. And the interesting thing about it is anytime I put a piece of content that has anything around Joe Dispenza, it usually has more exposure to my audience, but also like external audiences as well. And so with that being said, what I always recommend is what we continue to talk about inside of our Skool community. We'll talk about it more here. We talk about it in our accelerator program significantly. But when you find what we call like those golden threads or those golden nugget type of pieces of content, you want to start building out what we call campaigns around that content. And so that's exactly what I did. And you can go back check this and you can see exactly what I did. But as I was noticing my content that had Joe Dispenza in it, people were gravitating to it. So I was like, okay, how do I now then create a campaign around this? So basically what I did is I did a 30-day Joe Dispenza meditation challenge so that I could continue to create more content around it. And I gave weekly updates on this YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram and other platforms, even TikTok a little bit, of the 30-day challenge. And I would do weekly overviews of like, hey, this is what went well, this is how I experienced it, this is what it brought in for me, I got more clients from this, so on and so forth. I set my intentions, here's the challenges that I had. And so I made 4 specific videos on this particular campaign, right? I did week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And so the interesting thing about this is that I'm very analytical and I love numbers. I used to be a massive advertiser, and that was my main focus for a really long time. And so I love looking at numbers. And so I looked at all 4 of these videos, and they all did pretty well as mentioned. And I looked at video number 3, week number 3, and I noticed that I kind of put together this little formula about how how many subscribers I'm getting based on how many views I'm getting. So it's like subscriber per view ratio. And so generally speaking, what I typically experience is roughly around like every 50 views, I'm getting a new subscriber. Sometimes like 50, 60, between like 40, 60, I'd say like between like 40 and 70, that's kind of like the average, right? And so that was great. And then what happened is on week 3, something shifted. And I looked at the numbers again, and I got about a 27 view per subscriber, which is roughly at least over half, right? And I was like, wow, that's pretty insightful. And so I was looking at the campaign, I was looking at that specific video, and I was like, why did that get more? Why did that hook more? Why did that get more people drawing in and more specifically wanting to engage in me and subscribe and follow along the journey? And so I looked at that video, and what I did specifically in that video is I basically shared a little vulnerable piece where I basically said, like, week 3, it wasn't as good. I fell off a little bit. I said, hey, I was doing my meditations, but I didn't do it 7 days. I only did it about 4 days, and I just kind of fell off, right? Just being straight up, being authentic, being truthful, not trying to act like I'm perfect by any means, right? And so that was pretty much the only difference. That was the variable in this video. And because of that, I was getting like double the subscribers based on this video. And so the point that I want to drive home here is this is how you're going to succeed with your authentic personal brand in 2024 and beyond, is that it's going to come from authenticity. Now, that's not the only piece, but I truly believe that we are, a lot of people are talking about how we're in a financial and trust recession. And I think also even the core component of that is we're in an authenticity recession, where people are just, it's an epidemic. Like, people are just posturing, they're just acting like everything's amazing, they're being like the gurus, and people are exhausted. People are exhausted from it, but then people keep on gravitating towards that because they're like, oh, I got to say what people want to hear so that I can get the conversion, so people are going to buy my stuff. And it's this cycle and this loop that like this whole world is getting stuck in. And the way that you're going to separate yourself, the way that I continue to separate myself and continue to feel really good about it, is being as truthful and authentic as possible. Now, there's 4 components to a really strong personal brand, right? The first one is kind of like the flash, the excitement, the sauce, as you call it, the kind of like more of the aesthetic and just, more of the flavor, right? But then there is more of the human, okay? And that's more of the vulnerable side. From there, it's more of the leader. And then from there, it's just like showing off your personality, and like the pattern interrupts. So those are like the 4 components, right? So it's not just vulnerability, but it's a big piece, especially since we're in this authenticity recession, as I like to call it. And so it's really, really important that you step into that. But here's the thing, is the only way that you're going to know how to be authentic is if you truly know yourself, right? And that's why we always start, especially in our accelerator program and in our school community, we're always talking about, it's so important to figure out who you are. You only can know who you are based on awareness. And that's why we identify certain subconscious blocks so that we can relieve them, so that it's like dropping off the sandbags. It's like putting down the handbrake so we can start driving at the speed that we want to be driving on, right? Until you release those blocks, until you're aware of those blocks, you can't release them. So you got to get aware of them, you got to release them, and then you got to clarify and understand who you are based on your vision, your values, and your identity. And that's like the first component that we always take people through, right? So always get clear on what your values are, what your vision is. And so in just a quick thing I wanted to share, because this is relatively new, is we developed something called a subconscious audit. And so we're playing around with helping a few people. We're testing out with clients right now, but basically we use a lot of AI to basically help you identify your subconscious blocks. So we're going to start offering that inside of our school community. If you have interest, obviously join us in there. We'll make some posts and stuff like that. So those are a couple exciting things. But in terms of figuring out who you are, what your vision and your values are, just start looking at your life, getting more aware, because wherever you spend your time and your energy, those are the things that you truly value. Behavior indicates value, your values, right? So just start being more aware of where all your time and energy and money is going, and then you'll quickly be able to see what you value. So for me, for example, relationships are one of my highest values. Relationships, experience, and honesty. Those are probably my 3 biggest ones. And I noticed that a while back is because like I would have different opportunities. I could like just stay in and work. And a lot of times I would choose to go hang out with people that I really connect with. And that just showed me that I value relationships because it's the place where I'm spending a whole lot of time. And I spend a lot of time by myself, so I value my relationship with myself. And so again, it just kind of showed me that whole thing is just showing me I spend a lot of time, energy towards those relationships with myself and others. That showed me that one of my highest values is relationships. And that brings me to the next point, is that really the best way that I like to describe a personal brand is that it's building relationships at scale. So it's also, so just let that sink in real quick. I believe that's one of the best ways. I was actually just on our coaching call today, and one of my mentors was talking about how building a personal brand shrinks the trust gap. So you're basically being able to build trust with people at a quicker pace because you're building relationships at scale. And the longer the content that you create, the more content that you create, you're building more relationships with people. But it's not the only way. Content is not the only way. It's putting yourself out there in any capacity. It's having conversations with people. You could even, go to events. You could throw your own events. It's basically just building relationships, however that is. Maybe you go to dinners. Maybe you go hang out with people, have conversations. It's ultimately just conversations and content. Conversations and content. It's basically being yourself and then getting exposed to more people that you want to build relationships with. And in terms of online, you can do that because then you put out content and then other people can watch it. So they're building a relationship with you, even if you don't necessarily know who they are. And that's what the interesting part about all of this is like I'm building a relationship with you, you're building a relationship with me, even if we've never met, even if we've never had a conversation, even if you've never joined the Skool Community and said what up and we get on the live calls, even if you haven't even sent me a DM or replied or liked or done anything, but you simply just have observed me. And maybe, I've had people that have, been following me for the 10 plus years because I've been building my brand for 10 plus years. And the basis of that again is building relationships all the time, in person and online. And so one other thing that I really want to share is that I made a post on Instagram yesterday. I said, you become like the 5 people you surround yourself with. And I'm sure you've probably heard a variation of that or two, right? But I wanted to explain it in this way because I heard it in a very unique way. So basically, imagine this. Imagine that you have 5 people that you spend the most time with, okay? And let's imagine that all 5 of those people make $100,000 a year take home, okay? So we're going to add all that up. That equates into $500,000, right? There's 5 people in the group. We're going to divide that by 5. Average is $100,000. That is literally your income cap. Okay, you can't go above that because we're always going to mold to the environment. We're always going to be the average of our environment. And that's just an easy way to explain it because numbers are just very simple. But it'd be the same thing for your health. It'd be the same thing for your relationships. If you're hanging around with a bunch of binge drinkers, you're going to be the next. If you're going to be hanging around with a bunch of people that are married, you're going to be next. If you're hanging around with people that are all smoking all the time, you're probably going to be the next. Right? It's the average. So in order for you to break through that example of $100,000, you would need to add someone into the mix that makes $200,000, $300,000, because then it increases the average of the group. And then therefore that is your cap. And so I'd encourage you, and this is again stuff we go through inside of the Skool Community and in our accelerator program, but be very intentional with the people that you spend the most time with. And something that we always recommend is you start building out what you call your inner circle. Most people are not very intentional around this, but I am very intentional about who I spend my time with and, cutting things off in the most loving way if they're not necessarily serving me. And one of the coolest things that you can do is you can build what's called your inner circle. And it's basically you put together a little group. I would recommend anywhere from 3 to 5 people that all have the best interest in heart, want you all to succeed. And you guys come together on a weekly, even every other week basis so that you guys can just come together, keep each other accountable, lift each other up. And again, the thing that would help you the most is getting around people that you aspire to be like, right? It's really, really powerful to continue to get around those people. And that's why I'm so intentional about building relationships, especially with people that I aspire to be like in some capacity, whether that's, generating millions of followers, generating millions of dollars, being in safe, healthy, committed relationships. I want to continue to be around those type of people because I know I'm going to gravitate to the average if that is the people that I'm spending the most time with. So that's the general gist, and you can be very intentional. There's a lot of different ways, but again, have conversations, go to events, throw your own events, create content. Those are all the things that start building out your brand. Then people are going to start recognizing you and basically just have you are just going to have more of a lasting energy around those people. And basically what people are saying about you and how they're feeling about you when you're not there, that is truly your brand. And your brand moves past you. It's not just you. It's basically an extension of you, and you're basically you get a lot more exposure even if you're not present in the place, because again, it's just helping you build relationships at scale. So I trust that gave you a little bit of insight to what it's going to take to build a successful personal brand and why you want to build a successful personal brand. Because once you have that, relationships are the basis of commerce, of sales, right? So if you want to launch a fitness brand off of your personal brand, then you can do that, because now you have an offer and you have a pool of people that know, like, and trust you. You can present it to them, and if it's an offer that really adheres to them, they'll buy because they trust you. But in this, like I said, we're in this recession, we're in this trust recession. If people don't know, like, and trust you, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Even if you put out an amazing offer, people aren't necessarily going to buy it because they just don't believe and trust in you. So it's really that lever, and that's why, like Alex Hormozi talks about, it increases your conversions on your advertising. It increases your conversions on your content, right? And so when people just have that feeling about you, like, that's a cool guy. Yeah, like, I really respect him, and he's authentic. And again, that's why I started this whole video about that, is like, be authentic, because people can read it. They know when someone's being real and they know when someone's not being real. And so it's really, really powerful, and it's this ultimate lever. And that's again why Tai Lopez is talking about how this is the third wave of wealth. Now just think about it. I mean, Elon Musk bought Twitter, turned it into X, because he realized and understood the power of building a personal brand. And he went to the extent of not just getting on a social platform, but actually buying a social platform so he could be the head honcho of the entire platform, therefore elevating his brand even more, because it does a whole lot more when you have positioning and authority. And this is a little bit more of an advanced thing, and we'll probably talk a lot about this inside of our Skool community, but it's like, when you have that positioning and authority, people know, like, and trust you that much more, and it's a bigger lever. So the stronger that your personal brand is, the stronger that your ads are going to be, the stronger your content's going to be, the more people are going to want to be around you, more people are going to want to learn from you, and it's just this self-fulfilling prophecy that you spiral up. But if you don't build this out, again, it doesn't necessarily need to be online. That's just more scalable. But if you continually have conversations, you go to events, you even throw your own events, and you start speaking and you start building out your platform, that's when people can really connect to you, and you're more efficient, which always comes back to this whole thing of return on energy. That's one of the coolest things that I like, and it's basically the long-term approach. Brand is building a long-term approach. And a metaphor, and I'll close out on this, is that, think about this, is that imagine that you're sitting around a campfire and you got a fire going, right? And it's amazing, and then all of a sudden it's starting to die. The wood's starting to burn out. You basically have a couple options there. You could go grab some twigs, you go grab some branches, throw it on the fire, and you're like, okay, cool, the fire's back up, right? But then what happens? It does it again. You got to go grab some stuff, boom. Go grab some stuff, boom. Go grab some stuff, boom. And it's a very exhausting model. And that's basically the metaphor of just like constantly putting out offers. If you're just like constantly testing and you don't have that longevity with it, because you don't have that know, like, and trust with the marketplace as a whole. Right? But what if you, instead of just going and grabbing the quick fix, you actually went out there and chopped down some wood. You chopped the wood. Woodchuck could, but look, you go grab all that wood, you put it next to the fire, and now you can throw a log in there and you can chill. And then when it slows down, you can throw another log in there, and you get to hang out with your friends and your family and really enjoy the fire. It's really cool. right? And it's less of an exhausting model. Yes, there's a little bit more upfront work and it takes a little bit longer, but it sustains longer. That fire will last for a lot longer and it'll be less of an exhausting model. So always looking at it from a return on energy standpoint. And the best thing that you can do from an energetic standpoint is build your brand in a way that's authentic, that's true to who you are, so that you can feel good, because it doesn't feel good building a brand that's not true to who you are, and it's something that's just like completely off, that's just about making money. It has to be true to who you are. So I wanted to share that with you. I actually, even early stages, I built my brand around it was like make money online, and that pulled me away from a lot of stuff, and it didn't make me feel amazing. So it's about finding that merge of what feels good, what's true to you, and also building it around a skill set as well, and a really good offer. Okay. Thank you for watching this video, guys. Truly appreciate your time. If you want to learn more about this whole woo and do approach, we have all the links down below. You can go to justgrowvisions.com. We have our next podcast event here in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona on November 16th. You can learn all about that at justgrowpodcast.com. And then, as mentioned, make sure and subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about building your brand, doing it in an authentic way, and just becoming the absolute best version of yourself. We're on a mission to helping over 20,000 people become the best version of themselves, put themselves out there, have the courage to go out there and be the best version and communicate that to other people so they can build profound, strong relationships. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk to you on the next video.